welcome to the Divine Medium Spirit Talk Live. Tonight we have a special little thing for you on the iHeart Radio A1R and Moonstrap TV. To find us, I am on a page called The Divine Medium on Facebook and Christina K. Watts, C-A-Y, on Facebook Live. You can watch us live on Facebook. After the show, we will continue the show on Facebook, so head on over there after the iHeart Radio show. But tonight we're going to do a little thing called Let's Get to Know the Knights Templar. So I have my assistant Yvonne, who has all this knowledge on the Knights Templar. She reads books, she studies it closely, and I have no idea what's going on. I do know a little bit about them. I dealt with them in past lives. And I know a little bit, but after I passed away, I didn't know anything from that point on, like where they had went or where they migrated to. So I connect to one of the Knight Templar soldiers or knights, and he gives me most of the information that I'm not aware of. So he's been very extremely helpful. So when I give something to Yvonne, she's like, "Yep, that's right. That's in the book." So we're going to kind of go over that tonight. So she's going to ask me some questions I have no clue about, and I'm going to get my answers from him or myself based off my remembrance of that time. So Yvonne, what's your first question?
So let's get to the heart of it. And where did the idea for the Knights Templar originate from?
Do you want to, oh no, you don't want to give too much information. So, okay. So where did they originate from? I remember them back in Jesus' time, and they actually originated back at that time. The co-owner or founder, if you will, who created the Knights Templar was, I know him by the Apostle of Barnabas.
Which in the book is under Bernard.
Okay, Bernard. Okay. Well, back then we called him Barnabas. Okay, so he started this because there was a protection over the bloodline of Jesus, and I'm part of that bloodline. Obviously, you guys know that. So I do remember him, like, his characteristic, if he was in modern time, he would have been a police officer or sergeant or like army soldier person. He was very protective. He was very strategic in logic and his thinking. And he knew what needed to be done. So I do remember him taking charge, and he had a very precise way of who he was choosing for this task. They had to show great honor. They had to follow a very strict, honorable code or guideline. And if you didn't follow that, then you were not deemed worthy to be in this club, if you will. And what they were guarding was the bloodline. So it wasn't a chalice, it wasn't a cup, it was the bloodline of Jesus. So it would have been me, Mary Magdalene, and then the children that would take on the rest of his name and the teachings, if you will, from that point on. He also protected a lot of the apostles as well that were being threatened at that time. And I do remember traveling with them.
Next question is, the cross that they wear and the ones that we see and on the uniforms.
Okay.
What does that symbolize, and where did they get that symbol from?
Okay, so the cross and the colors, because the knight that I'm dealing with, he was yet to give us his full name, but I think I have an inkling of who it is. He is honing on the colors mostly, and it's the blood that was shed to save humanity is how he's describing it. Is there like a metallic color to it too, like gold or silver? Is there an outline to the cross?
And some get your jets.
Okay. Is it silver or gold?
I'm not really sure.
Okay. Because he's going to like a component that's added to the color. That shows strength. So they added in some kind of metal as an outline to the cross to show that people are going to grow through strength and protection by the color of the cross, which would have been the blood of Jesus being shed for humanity and saving them.
That's why it's
from the karmatic cycle. I think a lot of people think that they're being saved from sin. But if you run it down, sin is karmatic cycling of learning. It's just repeating over and over again. And technically, in a way, yeah, you're deeming yourself to a type of sin because you're not learning, so you're repeating. The cross itself and why they chose that symbol is, well, I mean, when you think of Christ, you think of him being on a cross and what he did. They also find it to be a shielding, a strong statement. So instead of like using maybe a leaf or, because he's very strong in his notions that he wanted something bold to make a statement. And when you saw it, you knew where it was coming from.
Right. Well, obviously, they branched out and became very big.
Yes.
Very, very big, with hundreds of them, thousands of them. How did they recruit? Like, how did they go about recruiting and getting all these people and still being able to keep the secret and being able to do what they did do?
Well, back then, it was people that we knew. So we knew who we were dealing with, but throughout the ages, it was somebody that would have had to follow the guidelines, and you would have had to know somebody to get in. So it was very strict on, okay, we have to know these people. We're not just going to willy-nilly grab somebody and bring them into this, the best way he's describing, and I see what he's trying to show me, but he sees it as a protection. So, there's things that are said within this circle that no one on earth should be knowing. And the secret is actually still to this day that a lot of people don't understand. Yeah.
I mean,
I have to be careful with what I say.
Well, yeah.
So
I can ask them, that's fine. You just answer them the best you can, that's fine. Were they as rich as what people say they were? Were they rich, or in some books they were poor fellow soldiers, is what they call them?
I would call them, if they were part of modern day, I would call them middle class. And they saw the need for money because they had to get around and they had to have the money to get around. They've come into money several times because of based who they've dealt with. They don't just, any secret society, you're not going to just deal with poor people. You're going to deal with people that have connections and that can help you along. But I think back then it wasn't like that. It was more of, this is a protection. Money is just something that helps. But they have come into money that's helped them.
So, later on in the ages, so that was their goal, was to help the poor people, not only, but to do that also.
Right, yeah.
Right.
They were, I guess they would have been the, like the peacekeepers of our time. I'm trying to think of the military that has that wing to them. It's peace something. I'm trying to... Peace Corps? Yes. They would have been that times, our modern times Peace Corps. That's what they would have seen them as. Yeah.
So why were people so intimidated by them if they were there?
Because you don't cross them because of what they're protecting.
Right.
Yeah. And they were very devout in their beliefs in this. The stories aren't getting twisted. You know how a Bible, it goes down the line and eventually it gets twisted. And if I said I want to marry Santa Claus, by the time it got down the line, it would have been like Easter's fake or something. Do you know what I mean? Just the more people talked about it, they changed it. But when the Knights Templar, they were so strict in what was being said, how it was documented, blah, 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 that it didn't get twisted and turned. Right. They were very adamant about that.
Right. So why was King Philip what was his...
Hell-bent?
Yeah, hell-bent on destroying them the way he did.
He, again, I'm going back to the Herod thing, King Herod, when King Herod killed the babies because he thought he was going to have his placement replaced. by somebody in higher authority. He sought to destroy that. And he almost reminds me of a reincarnation of Herod. He sought to destroy something that he thought could replace him. And if I'm not correct, they were very close to the Pope, and I think that he did all he could to kind of get that powerful authority on his side. He saw them as a threat. It wasn't about money. It was they could easily replace me if they get too much power. They're very careful about that.
In some of the books, they go back to the galactic side of the Templars. They sometimes refer to some of their symbols that they wrote in Russell Chapel and stuff. They're almost galactic, but
Jesus is not from here. His planet of origin is Orion. I'm from California, and most of the apostles were not from here either. It's almost okay. You know when people come into the shop, like half the time I figure out through an evaluation that they're a hybrid or they're galactic in some way. Not all of them, but what I'm noticing is they're finding their way to me, and that's what happened with Jesus. The apostles found their way to him because they were supposed to assist him because they were galactic as well. Not all of them, but a proportion of them are. And I think it goes hand in hand that the Knights Templars knew this, and they kept that going. They kept that information. And I wouldn't be surprised half of the Knights Templars now are galactic, and they have no idea that they are.
Is it? Right. There's so many, I don't know.
You don't know what to choose.
I don't know what to choose. Oh boy. So what happened to them after King Philip had been burned at the stake? They dispersed in all different directions then.
Yes, some actually stayed where they were at. And I know you asked me a while ago, how could they stay in a place where they were being hunted?
Well, they
made a very easy way of doing it for themselves. Whether it was changing how they wore their hair, cutting their hair, wearing different clothing, they found a way of doing it. And with what they were doing, they had orders that would harbor them and wouldn't care if they were put to death because they knew deep down they were doing it for the cause.
Right.
So yeah, I've seen ones go to Spain, I've seen ones go to Canada, and then ones have even gone to as far as Portugal. Like they kind of just dispersed, and they agreed that by doing this, that they would gain groups in their areas to make the Knights Templar even bigger, so that they can never be stopped. Right? That was their goal. Well, if he thinks he can stop us, watch us advance now. Right? They were very headstrong driven. They were definitely driven.
So, some of the TV documentaries that I watched on it in the book I read, they insinuate, they don't have any proof, maybe a little bit of proof, but were they responsible for the elaborate tunnel systems under France and Great Britain and different places? Because they say that's where they were hiding at. And
well, I was just going to get to that. Yeah, he's explaining that they needed somewhere to hide, so they had to come up with some kind of, and they had, again, the supporters and money to back them up to do this.
So who was supporting them financially?
Merchants, people that, grew in heritage wealth, like when your uncle passes, you get handed down money. So it was being handed down.
So they were responsible for the elaborate tunnel systems
so that they could get around without getting caught and put to death. And those tunnel systems aren't just in France, from what I'm being
sure. There are a couple different countries. Great Britain,
Canada, I'm seeing, Germany, London. I just heard London.
Yes.
I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, I'm sure somebody could probably look that up.
I saw a something on one of the History Channel or something.
Sorry, I should probably correct myself. Not that it's not true. I don't want him thinking I'm saying he's lying. So let me correct that. A way of confirming it, I guess I should say. Because I don't know where all these. I'm just getting the locations from him. So if there's a way to kind of look it up, and
No, he's right, because the documentaries that I've seen on television about it, he has named all the places that they have gone and have shown that I've seen that they've shown.
okay,
But they always go back to the Knights Templar, but yet
they don't know.
they can't really truly totally confirm it. So
And he says with his assistance, I could walk through those tunnels like the back of my hand.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
There's things hidden in some of those tunnels as well.
What?
Yeah. Okay, we can't talk about them.
So
It's taking it a little too far. Maybe on the next one.
next show.
Right, David?
See if anything you want to add. Sure. So I want to ask about, not in depth, we're not going to get into depth about this, but it's, you know about Oak Island.
Yes.
So they have all these theories, hundreds of theories.
Okay.
I guess the question is, were they on Oak Island as one of the people? Were they?
Yes.
Okay.
There is something in Oak Island, and no matter how much you try, you are not going to find it. It is severely protected. There is a protection, galactic, unforeseen bubble over this area. It's marked with a cross because it was to show the knights where this item was. And it was marked that also, he's telling me it was also marked as a protection. You do not touch this area. This is owned by the Knights Templar. You do not touch this. So whenever anybody saw this item or this symbol, they knew, okay, we shouldn't be in this area. Something's going to happen to us if we go any further. But people have, in modern times, tried to go further, and I don't know how many people have died before they get the freaking picture that this item is to be kept there, not removed. It's sacred. It's protected by galactic. It's protected by divine. And yeah, that's all I can say. I can't say anything further. So I know it's there, and
There's only one item I want to ask you about that they did find, because they found many items.
Okay.
It was the cross that they feel was a Knights Templar cross.
Where?
On Oak Island.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay.
So whose cross was that?
Knights Templar. It's a marking that this area is protected.
A piece of jewelry.
Oh, okay,
I'm talking about the piece of jewelry that they found.
Okay.
It was
that's
a cross.
That's a Knights Templar cross. That was just something that fell off in the midst of trying to, and things like that, yeah.
So after they did what they had to do, did they leave the island then, afterwards?
They didn't leave. There's still one still protecting the area. They don't infiltrate. Like, if, let's say, for example, you were back in Barnabas' time, there would have been nobody going on that land. They would have severely known it. Was they say of the bloodline of Jesus? Rebecca, I'm really not sure what you mean by that. Dawn, this is actually an interesting question. If you were gay in this life, were you gay in a past life? No, not necessarily. That is something that maybe you're desiring to learn in this life, and that's okay. Let's see if we have any other questions. So was Jesus put on a cross in the end, or some people also believe he was put on a wooden stake? What is the truth? He was put on a cross, but the what do you want to call it, the stake knives or nails, stake nails didn't go through the hand, they went through the wrist. If something like that would have gone through the hand, it would have broke all the bones and slipped right out. The wrist kind of locks you in place because there's a huge bone that kind of connects your hand and the wrist, and it would have been right along right here, where it would have kept him locked in. I don't want to get into too many details with that because then I'm going to start getting emotional. He is already in physical form here. He's had many lives, after this. It's not like he just died on the cross and then, hung out in heaven. He wants to affect different realms in humanity with what he knows and his knowledge, and he wants to grow others in strength through. So he's going to come back and teach this. So, from I'm gathering, he is in Rome, seeing the Pope at this time, near the back. Are there any Knights Templars today? Are they known by another name? Who's giving you a Paula? The Knights Templars are still going strong. They're not the way this knight is describing the knights now is they couldn't compare to the knights back in those days. The knights now are just kind of like, oh, this is exciting, I want to be a Knights Templar. They're not really protecting
like a society of men.
Right. It's not like they're out, fighting dark. And
it's a different time.
Yeah, it's a different time. Yeah. And this knight is like, they couldn't handle what we did back then, is basically what he's saying. But he is respecting them in the sense that they're honoring and contributing to what they were trying to do back then. Is it true that if you were poor in past life, you are rich in this one? Not necessarily, Phyllis. There can be a soul that, really wants to learn from being poor, and they just keep picking lives that are poor. And I tell people all the time, don't make the money make that because they're making money. You have to understand everyone is at their own learning level. So if you're making more money than somebody else, do you transfer your soul to another when you pass? No, Dawn, you don't. Your soul is your own. And when you take on a vessel, you're learning from it. That's it. Is the stigmata real, and what is it? Marlena, it's very real. To the ones that deal with it, I'm one of them. I get a very severe mark on my rib, and it's so bad that I could be buckled over in pain for hours. It used to happen when I first came out as a communicator, but it doesn't happen as much as it used to. But you could literally, we've taken pictures before, see a slash going across my rib, and just the pain, and it would swell up real big. But yes, it's very real, and I think the reason it happens is, and the way it was explained to me by my spirit guide Maria, was that this is something to reconnect you back to why you've chosen this path. So when I want to give up, thanks, David, when I want to give up, this pain kind of brings me back to, okay, I realize now why I picked this mission and why I want to help people so much with it. Okay, last question of the night for the talk show. Do the Freemasons stem from Knights? Oh, we already answered that. Angela, yes, Mary Magdalene was the Holy Grail, and if you think of the Holy Grail, you think of a cup, and the cup being the womb, okay, the shape of a womb, containing the bloodline, which would be children of Jesus. And that is it, guys, for the talk show tonight. Maybe we might stem off of the Knights Templar next week. I see a lot of people are very interested in it. So let's get some more questions going for next week. And I'll post on Facebook, and you guys can pick the questions you want to ask for the Knights Templar. Do some research, do some Googling, and ask me some questions, and we'll get with the Knights and see what we get. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you.